Welcome back, friends. Happy to have you back in our class. Today we are going to have a new lesson on subroutines. And when we talk of subroutines are a subroutine is simply a reusable block of code that performs a specific task and can be called multiple times throughout a program. And basically, there are two. There are also called subroutines are also called functions. Okay, they are also called functions. So in this lesson, we are going to see how to define and call functions and procedures, and how to use parameters in functions. And in fact, we are going to learn how to write functions and procedures in Python. So for us to do that, we'll take this example. We'll write a function and a procedure called num that takes in two numbers as parameters and calculates the sum of the numbers and then prints the result as sum. Okay, so let's go. So the program says that we are to take in two numbers, right? We are to take in two numbers, and then what do we do? After which we take those two numbers as parameters, we calculate the sum. So how do we start our program? The first thing we'll do is we'll define our function. So we said the function is going to be called num_sum. Okay. So we have our function num_sum, which we are going to define, and we said it should take in two parameters. So we may call those parameters A and B for the two numbers. Okay. Then put column. We now, what do we want to do? We want to calculate the sum of these two numbers and return the result. So we may say sum. We are declaring a variable sum that will take in A plus B. It will calculate A plus B, and then at the end we'll return sum. As simple as that. That's we return the sum of these two numbers. So once we've done that, we are going to call on two numbers, two variables. The first one, num1, which will be an integer. Okay, an integer which the user must enter. So we'll say enter the first number. Okay, ask the user to enter the first number, and we'll do the same for the second number. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for the second number. So just modify the variable, call it 2, and here instead of first I'll put second. Okay, so once the user enters the first and the second number, what do? We call on the function. Okay, we call on the function. We may call the variable result that will give us the value return after we have entered num1 and num2 as parameters. Okay, and then at the end we'll print the result saying the sum of, I'll use parameters, formatted print. Okay, formatted output, the sum of num1 this, now print result. Okay, print result. As simple as that. Okay, so let's see how it looks like. Okay, line 9, an error on line 9. Oh, I did not close. Sorry, I did not close my quotes. Okay, so let's see. So let's enter the two numbers 14 and 12. So the result should give us 26. Okay, the sum of 14 and 12 is 26. So that's it. Voila! It does exactly what we needed. Okay, so now this is what we're going to do now. We will write a procedure now that will do the same thing. Okay, a procedure that will give us the same result. So what are we going to do now? For the procedure, of course, we'll still define it as norm or sum norm. It will take in the parameters, calculate the sum, and then in that procedure, since it has no return value, a procedure does not have a return value. So what we'll do is we are going to print here, over here, we are going to print the sum of A and B is sum, since there's no return value. Okay, and then we'll just call on the procedure here without assigning it to any variable. I think that is it. Let's try and see how it looks like. Okay, so the first number 14, the second 12, so it should give us the sum is the sum of 14 and 12 is 26. That's what we expect. Okay, exactly. So it works. So that is it about sum of functions and procedures. So maybe we'll take a second example on functions. Okay, this time around we'll use list. Okay, our second example says we write a function and procedure min max that takes in a list of numbers and prints the minimum and the maximum number at the end. Okay, so let's see how we can go about that. It said we'll first of all declare the variable is max, is in min max, yeah, something like that, min max. Okay, which will take in an array or a list. Okay, we will just call it list, and it will help us to calculate the mean value and the max value. So let me call it mean, which is equals to the mean of our list. Okay, so it will be stored in mean, or let me call it mini, so that we don't mix up the variables. Then we'll create another variable which we'll call maxi. Okay, for the maximum, maxi, and we use the max. Okay, then at the end we'll return these two values. We'll return mini and maxi. Okay, so we are going to assign the variables which names can we give? Okay, maybe mini and maxi. Okay, as it is there, we are going to take in just the array. So what do? We'll create our list. We'll create our list. Okay, which will be empty. We'll use a for loop that will store in 5 numbers, okay? Store in 5 numbers, okay? So we'll call num, which will be integers, okay? The list, our list will be called, will be made up of integers, okay? So input, like that, input, enter number. Let me format my output. Enter number, I plus 1. I'll just call it I, but here I'll give the range. It starts from 1 and ends at 5. Okay. We'll take this number, close, okay. So now we have to append. So we call on our list dot append, and what are we going to append? We are going to append num. Okay. Then after all of these, we will now print. The message. The list is list. Okay. The list is list. Okay. We will first of all print our list, and then we will now print the min and the max. So the minimum is min. The minimum is mini, and maximum is maxi. Okay. So that's it. So let's run our code and see how it looks like. So the first element, 12.5, line 9. What is the error? I entered a fraction, whereas I indicated here that it was supposed to be an integer. So I can just change it to float, so that I will not have any issues. Okay. So the first number is 12.5, 14.25, 11.75, 18, and 20. Oh, what's the problem? We enter just one numbers on line 12. Oh, I said sum here, whereas it was changed to min and max. Okay, and then now we're supposed to enter 6 numbers, not 5. Starting from there. So I've corrected. Let's see how it looks like now. Okay, 12.5, 14.25, 2.75, 11.85, 19.5. Okay, still an error on line 12. Oh my God, I was supposed to take in just the list. Copy and paste is not easy. Okay, to correct it, let's see again. 12.5, 10.25, 11.75, 18, 19.5. Let's see now. Okay, this is the list. Okay, the minimum is 10.25 and the maximum is 19.5. Let's verify. Yeah, that's correct. Correct. So it works. It works. It works. Okay, it works. So that's good. That is it for functions and procedures. I think we'll move on. In our next class, we'll see how to manipulate. Move to what again? We'll move to debugging. Okay, we'll learn how to debug and detect errors in a code rapidly. Okay, thank you very much. See you in our next class.